Okay, let's share the screen. Okay, so welcome to the business research today. We're gonna talk about a very important concept in business research, which is inductions and deductions, inductive and deductive research approach. And I would like to illustrate with very important disciplinary concept and a topic which is called strategic management. So in today's sessions, you will learn about also the strategic management process, particularly about a reliable strategic management process. So how do we how do we engage? How do we design? How do we implement a strategic management process, which is really a business research process that is reliable? How do we ensure reliability in the processes, which is very important? If the process is not reliable, well, then it will not be trusted. It will not be trustable. So no one will have confidence on your process, and if no one has confidence on your process, then no one will have confidence on your suggestion. So your strategies makes no meaningful outcomes and recommendations. So it is very important that we need to have reliability in the strategic management process. And through this understanding, you also will understand very important research, which is called research quality, which is called reliability. In product, and when you produce a product in a production, when you produce a product or a services, we need to produce product and services that are that has the qualities, and one of the quality is reliability. Do we produce research and services that is reliable? That means it consistently can be used. The performance is very much constant. We can trust it. The product will deliver the function and things like that. And so this reliable research business processes and also the reliable strategic management process is very important. They all share the same understanding, and this is one of the things that I would discuss today. And through this reliable strategic management processes, we are capable of producing valid results. So we will also talk about validities. Okay, of course, we will when the time comes, we will talk about the exact details of validity, but you probably will get a sense of what is a very valid result means. If you do not produce a valid results or strategy, then chances are your strategy is well, first of all, is not trustable, and of course it's not valid in the sense that it's not going to produce the result as your according to your expectation or to meet your performance requirement. And if that is so, that is not a that means that it is not a strategy. A strategy must have the validity that delivers certain objectives, certain performance criteria. It could be competitive advantages, it could be your company's objective, it could be the ability to win in the market, at the same time to engage stakeholders to be to participate in your strategic development processes. So this validity is very, very important, and we will talk about it. And so one of the criteria in strategy and in that strategic management processes, or in the business a journey or business research processes, is reliability, the quality criteria. One of them is reliability. The second one is validity. Is it valid? Does it deliver to your expectation? Is your process reliable, that we can trust your process, that you genuinely work on the processes? And the third thing is in business we call expandabilities, or in business research we call generalizabilities. That means your valid conclusion, your valid strategy can be utilized in many different areas. You can use the same strategy to as a business expansions to different areas in the global world. So you can use that to expand to Singapore. You can use that to expand to Malaysia. You can use that to expand to India, or you can use the same strategy to develop different types of product and different types of services, or different types of innovative ideas. So this reliability, validity, and generalizability becomes three important criteria. So we will get into the details slowly, but just want to let you know that strategic management and the business strategy, business research are actually the same thing. And so you got to have a reliable strategic management process, or you got to have a reliable business research process capable of producing valid strategies or valid research conclusion. There are that people's in many different fields, in similar field or similar context or environment, can apply your concepts, and that is called generalizabilities, or generalizable results. So we, in view of this, we in this process we will also introduce two very important ideas, which is ontology and epistemology, which is ontology. We'll talk about the realities. Okay, so all the things that you are working on, the things that you are examining, which is strategy. So when you look into the strategy, is the reality of that strategic implementations or strategic applications real in what sense? Is the nature objectively real, in the sense that it is always real? Doesn't matter, it is not influenced by the mind. I mean, whoever's look at the strategic situation is going to be the same. Whether you ask a child to look at the strategic issue, provided you give them the mechanisms and the means, or the measurements, or the monitoring devices to look at the issue, or you give to an adult, or give to a CEO, it will always at the same time generate the same understanding. And that objectively real nature is one of the natures of the reality of the world. So we call objectively real, and we have certain names for that ontological terms, which is the nature of the reality. And we, if that things are not influenced by the mind and is always as it is, real, real in the sense of as it is, such as the water molecules always have the H2O, two hydrogens and one two hydrogens and one oxygens. In that sense, we call it positivism. So the ontological nature is positivism, in the sense or objectivism, that is always objectively real in the sense. On the other hand, another ontological nature is interpretivism. So meaning that the reality, the nature of the reality is interpreted by the by the mind. So, our experiences are different. So our minds are different, and different minds, different with the different experiences, will interpret the reality differently. And we have the on the another side of the ontological reality, which is called interpretivism. Reality is interpreted by the human being. So if you really want to know the strategic reality of a company, you can't have a child to help you look at it, and you cannot have the labor workforce to help you develop the strategy. Well, because the different people's views different things, and they have different experiences. So you need experienced people, you need managers, you need CEO with solid experience, and that kind of ontological reality we call interpretivism. Of course, it's subjective, so therefore it is a part of the subjectivism, and it is relative to different people, experiences, and social culture. So we also understood in a sense of relativism. And so on the one hand, we know that the reality is objectively real. We can, the way we understand it, epistemological perspective, or the way we understand, the way we get the knowledge, we can get anybody else so long as we have mechanisms or monitoring mechanisms or things or mechanisms that can get the data. We just methodological, right? Like a survey. We put the questionnaire, we pass it to the children, or the child, and we'll then hand it over to the CEOs, or hand it over to other people, and they will, or you hand it to managers, who you will get the same kind of data. And so the way we approach understandings can maintain a long distance between the issue that we are examining and we, and that is the epistemological distance and epistemological positions that we can maintain to understand the ontological, which is the objectivism. And on the other hand, if we feel that the ontological reality is interpretivism, then the way we understand and develop the knowledge is we gotta get closer to the people. So if you really want to understand how the employee think about, the product and services, and we really need to talk to them, observe what they do. So so the epistemological positions that we need to maintain is closer, get closer, maybe more qualitative in that particular sense. So the methodological process comes along and matching with the ontology. So different types of ontologies determines different types of epistemological positions and distances, and also therefore the methodological methods, and so that defines this ontological issue, epistemological issues, and methodological issue. Three of them in conclusions. It is what we mean by a research paradigm, and we will have the time to look at it specifically again on this topic, but this is what it is. So if you really want to have a reliable research, valid conclusion, and things that can be generalizable to different application, we really need to first of all understand where is our research paradigms, okay? Where is our paradigmatic position? And that means understanding the ontological issue, epistemological issue, and the methodological issue. So these are all interrelated, and I hope by now, what you can go to the libraries and Googles and internet databases of the literature to get a good understanding on what I just told you. And it is very important in business today because we are dealing with continuing changes in our environment, and we also develop as a managers or as employees, and so everybody is developing. So it is very important that we have to understand this business research processes, the inductive, deductive processes that involves with all the reliability issue, validity issue, generalizability issue, and the paradigmatic issue. And develop until we gain a skill, not only the knowledge, but we also need to iteratively again and again until we gain we masters the ability to go through the process. We call it competencies, or the competences in the higher hierarchical sense, that such as the ability to make products, ability to integrate and apply artificial intelligence knowledge. So it is in order to get a good understanding about the what kind of products that are that we can or market in different types of market domains. And this kind of competence, if you go into the details that for each of the specific tasks, such as programming, such as analyzing, such as product development, such as production, and then we are talking about all these competencies, which if you go deeper into that competencies, we will understand that we have the compositions coming from the ingredients coming from your knowledge, and your scale of doing it, and your attitudes of going to do it. And so and together this knowledge, skills, and attitudes which we have talked about it will form competencies shape. And when it is brought into the pictures of business, it delivers certain competence that is able to help you gain, for example, strategic advantages. So in that sense, certain competences, certain competencies that are very unique to your organization, that are not easily purchasable or acquired from the market. We are talking about non-addressable resources or competences. That itself is the strategic devotion, and that itself is a strategy. Certain things that if you masters well, and that differentiate allows you to differentiate yourself in the industries or in the market, and therefore fulfill your objective and help you to meet your visions and mission. That in that perspective, we understand that it is about strategy. So strategy takes shape in that particular context, in that particular cohesive context, and a set of activities, and a set of we have a set of resources. We have a set of competencies from different organizational functions, such as purchasing, supply chain, and production, and customer relationship management departments. And if we are able to integrate them in a cohesive manner, that integrations of resources and competencies will generate certain competences that are very unique in producing certain types of product and services that nobody else can easily copy and duplicate and compete with you head on. In that sense, that capability and competencies are very unique driving force for strategy. Okay, so and in that particular sense, hopefully we will have some homework assignments or a research area we call competency-based view. It could, or we could call it capability-based view, or we can call it resource-based view. And those are part of the theories in helping organizations to be able to generate a strategy. And one of the very important concept in when you deal with the strategy, we call it the trilogy of strategy, which we are talking about integrating three important components or domains or elements. That without these three, you are not able to come up with a strategy. And so the strategies therefore needs context. You understand the context. What exactly are you in? Applications wise, product wise, markets wise, the natures of your organizations wise, the cultural wise, and the next one is the concept. And so we have different types of concepts, and I have just mentioned a couple of them, such as competency-based concept, resource-based concepts, or the capability-based concepts. And of course, you have learned many other different types of concepts, such as market positioning concept, industry positioning concepts that you have already mastered from the theories of the competition from Michael Porter's. And so all these concepts, in view of the context, will therefore lead you to generate and formulate and induce a set of conduct of strategy. And so therefore we are talking about context of strategy, the concept of strategy, in which theories are the part of the ultimate importance, explainable driving force behind all those concepts. And so therefore we have a multiplicities, a myriad of concepts, and different concepts with different contexts will generate different conduct, different content of strategy, different way you can implement the strategies. You could go through a defensive, defendable research, defendable strategy, in the sense of just adapting to the environment, assuming that the environment's a little bit more stable, and or you can go for more the prospective types of strategies that are intending to, or that has the innovative competency to shape the context, to shape the environment, just like the hero shaping the environment, because you have the prospective, visionary outlook that is very future oriented, that allows you to develop the future oriented strategy, future oriented competency to help you understand and master and create all kinds of future possibilities. So we, if you go into this mountain snow typology of strategic strategies, or you will get to understand these different typological the positions or shape or patterns of strategies, and things that these two that I have just mentioned are the prospectors and also the defensive strategy. And again, you could have because we have different types of concepts, and therefore different types of conduct, things like that. And we will have plenty of opportunity to look at all this perspective. But these are all related to business strategy, business research, because what is business research? Business research is about understanding a phenomena, and you're able to predict, you're able to understand, explain the phenomena, and when you are able to understand the phenomena and explain it well, such as why these strategies will have certain advantages over the other types of strategy, then you can control the phenomena. You can invest on the in a way that you can control the phenomena so that you will be successful in your undertaking, in your investment, and therefore that means prediction. So you're able to predict the outcome based on your knowledge, right? And that is what we mean by business research, and that is what we mean by a strategy. They're all the same, and therefore from the context, or if you're putting into the vocabulary of the business research term, the strategy therefore is just a hypothesis, and certain strategies you have confidence it's going to work, and because you have a strong experiences, the data that tells you so, and you have a huge strong knowledge that the literature reviews that tells you so, and therefore your strategy, your hypothesis is for sure it's going to work, and so if you execute it well, it will deliver the outcomes as expected. That means that you support the hypothesis, and research means that you support the hypothesis. The hypothesis is still valid. It's not falsified. So so therefore you can continue to use the hypothesis, and that in not only your case, but continue to use in many different similar cases. We call generalizability, because you have a valid conclusion, a valid strategy, and your process is very reliable. And again, come back to these reliability, validity, and generalizability. And again, so you can see that a page of sentences like this, we can talk days in and days out. And we can illustrate with many projects and many assignments and many research topics. And the other issue is the validities, is the validated variables. So if this is very important from the strategic, if you're a strategist, if you're a CEO, whichever words, things that you want to convey to your employees or your customers or your stakeholder, investor, you gotta make sure that every word you say, you mean what it is, and that means that you gotta make clear on every word. So every word's got to have definition. Every word's got to have clear definition, so you're not create confusion, and so you create a validity. You have you have validity starting from even your definition. If you do not define things in a clear manner, it is possible that people will misinterpret you, will misunderstand you, and therefore there will be different understanding. And so how do you know that what you say is interpreted in the way it is by other people? And if not, then you do not have the basis of validities. You do not have the basis of validity, and so your process is not reliable. And so this interrelationship between validity and reliability is a very important logic and understanding in business research. And so we really have to have a good, clear understanding in every single thing, such as strategy and its function. Okay, the functions, strategy and its functions are, if you look into the strategic management perspective or competitive strategy perspectives, you will understand that from the operations management perspective, we will have the a simple process flow, which is input, process, output. Let's just pause here and see how we can understand competitive strategy. Again, means hypothesis. Again, means your theory from looking into your input, process, output. And more specifically, I'm talking about especially in the research, business research context, we're talking about input, process, output. Can we use it as a theoretical platform or as a conceptual theoretical platform to help us understand and characterize strategy, competitive strategy? Is it possible? Why, yes, it is possible. In fact, if we do not look into these three components or these three phases, we will probably have the inadequacy, meaning that we will not be able to help us understand the meanings of competitive strategy in a more comprehensive sense. And so therefore, to understand a good a variable, we have to really also need to understand the theoretical context on this on things that this variable is a part of it, or we can use that theoretical concept again, coming back to the trilogy, the concept that help us to understand this conduct or strategy, the nature of strategy. Well, the reasons why, if we do not include input, process, output, we will not be able to understand what is competitive strategy well, because whichever we do, we need an input. Whatever I'm telling you, it needs an input. Something of input is driving the process of me discussing with you. And by discussing with you, it generates an output. So the competitive advantage or the competitive strategy has to look into the input. Okay, for example, the nature of the input, the resources. Do we have the very unique resources? You know, from the resource-based view, meaning that resources has certain characteristics and attributes, or some unique things that allow the resources to have certain advantages over the competitors, or things like that. And so this is what we mean by the natures of the input or the resources, and to some extent, or actually to more extent, the competency that we need. Without the competencies, for example, if I'm trying to analyze the big data, and if I do not have that competency or the nature, the resources which is embedded in myself, that relating to the skills and the knowledge that I have relating to big data analysis, I will not be able to even step into the next phase, which is called process. So the process itself is another competitive advantage. And again, for example, business model, it's a process. Supply chain is a process. Value chain activities, the types of activity that you do differently from other people's value chain. It's Michael Porter's talk about it. The value chain is the core of this competitive strategy. And at the end, you engaging that process, such as best practices or business operations through innovation, the innovations and artificial intelligence embedded within that processes, that is not only generating the effectiveness of your management of your processes, but actually can deliver so many things. Not only on the operational effectiveness side, but the ability to help you reach out to your market and to your stakeholders and meet your objective, qualifying as a strategy. and in the end deliver some competitive advantages. It could be differentiations. You're producing something very unique, such as product and services that's so unique that the customers are willing to pay. So the uniqueness is influencing the perception. It changes the perception because you have so unique product, and you have so unique product that it changes the perception that this product has a better ink. And after the market on the papers, I'm still able to read the papers, and the paper is still not the ink is not penetrated and dilute and getting into diffuse into all the cells of the paper and make it very difficult to read and things like that. So it has certain a good perception. And because of that perceptions that matches my requirements and my motive and my expectation, that it allows, it forms a strong willingness for me to pay for that price, and that creates a top line for the company, and it just creates a competitive advantages, a differentiation. And so this differentiation needs to enabled and needs to be realized through the consumer behaviors and brand management and the marketing that reveal in the willingness to pay. Okay, for instance. So again, validity of variables are very important. Making sure that everything's has a valid definitional and valid theoretical standpoint. Okay, so this is the topics that we will discuss in this session, which will apply to business research students, which will apply to business research scholars, which will apply to strategic management students and scholars, which will apply to a particular topic or area in strategy, which is called business competency development. So you got to develop these competencies of business research process, which is inductive competency and deductive competency. And how do we know that we have that competencies? And you have to break it down to knowledge of reliability, knowledge of validity, knowledge of generalizability, and your attitudes of going through that processes and again until you master the skill, and that forms the a very professional competency and driving all the way to deliver the business competences in whichever concept, whichever context your business is. And if you're able to do that in such a way that can create a sustainable or unique competitive advantages that allows you to realize your objective and allows you to create top lines and generate profits, reasonable, good profits, or maybe better profit, or the top best of the best profits in comparisons with to the other similar companies in your industry, and then you have reached to the top of the competence requirements of competitive strategy. So this class, this discussion really hits many birds at one time. Okay. So let's look into this overall inductive and deductive business research process or strategic management process, and which involves experiences, which is we call concrete experiences, or we call data, and because the concrete experiences will generate a whole bunch of data, right? And in business research or in competitive strategies or competency, one of the very important sources of competitive advantage or way you gain. There's some unique way of competition. It comes from your knowledge, your theory, and organized knowledge. Okay, and we call it theory. So we have this theory, we have this integrated concepts, the trilogies of the strategy, and that this strategy, this strategic concept is generalizable, that allows you to apply to different fields. So today you are in automobile industry, tomorrow you can apply the same concept to aviation or to hospital management. And so if you are a professional managers, or you can apply jobs to the various different fields, provided you have this generalizable capability. And this generalizable capabilities of your knowledge, of your concept, it means that you're building up your capability to deal with a set of condition, environmental condition. So whether your environmental conditions are volatile, uncertain, or complexities or whatever, you're able to deal with that. And so that becomes a criteria for a competitive strategy, right? Because if you look into the concept of core competency from the Hamels and Prahalat, and you will know that one of the very important is something that is your core. I mean, the whole core competency. I mean, the core competencies of these management processes, or these strategic management processes, of these competencies of business processes, business research processes, or this competitive strategy processes is the ability to that at the end of the processes, your competitive strategies or the competence as a result is generalizable, that it can apply to continues to help you expand your market and allow you to increase your market size, not only in one area, in one node or market, but in a node territory, okay, and things like that. And probably to global, international, global strategic world. So things like that. So your concrete experiences means and if you go into the details of business research, what do you mean by concrete experiences? So we are talking about getting in depth into the experiences. So we are talking about walking the talk if you are in operations. So we are talking about an in-depth interviews with the customers, diversities of the interviews, so that you can get better views to help you understand what exactly is needed in the market, and so you can create a better innovative product and services. So these concrete experiences are very, very important, and through these concrete experiences you slowly and gradually look at your experiences and observe it, and measure it, and talk about it, and interact with it, and share with other people, and think about it, analyze about it. And so we're talking about observations and reflection. And so this analytical analysis process, so you can look at it as a simple terms called data analysis. So we are talking about data, and then we go to data analysis, and then we form theory out of the data analysis. So we are going from a very specific experiences, and then slowly look at the experiences, and then we analyze it, and then look into what kind of theory that is generalizable, that we can apply to a wider field. because you are not a strategist. A strategist is you are focusing on a particular field, right? And the only probably difference between you as a strategist at the present organizational context issue, and a business researcher, is that these experiences, reflection, observation, and eventually to the theory, to the strategies at the present moment, is the ability to apply that particular theory in that particular business environment. But then, as a strategist, you need to draw implication. As a business researcher, you need to draw the implication from your data to analysis to the theory in such a way that it becomes more generalization is wider, so that you can imply to different fields, so that other people from different fields, different disciplines, maybe you're working on organization, but management perspective, supply chain perspective, destination perspective, hospitality perspective, agriculture perspective, will be able to help look at your conclusion and apply in their different field. And so there are some differences, okay? There are some specific differences. And again, if you look into the strategies perspective, it's not only at the present moment, maybe in the future-oriented situation, that your theory is helping you to expand your product expansions, your market expansion, your service expansion, geographical expansion. So this there is a time strategic orientation domain of the present moment and the future-oriented situation, applying to different field. Strategic domain, you can apply to this geography, this part of the world, to another part of the world. So we are talking about this geographical strategic domain. Okay, and when you apply that theory, and if once you have that theory, then you can put into action, right? You can invest on the theory. You can invest on the theory of the marketing, the theory of the branding, the theory of brand positioning, the theory of the operation, the theory of lean management, whatever. And then you apply those, and so you in business we means that we are either applying in the action research, or we test the theory in this quantitative survey research, or we use it as a guideline, inspiration for qualitative research. So different research methodology. Action research, you will use the theory and run it and operate on it and invest on it. And qualitative will use the theory as an inspiration, as another understanding, as your theoretical intellectual base to help you go through another round of the experience and data observation. But if you are quantitative, you can use the theory and test the theory and see whether the theory really work or not, match with the experience. So again, you will see that this kind of a simplicity of process is a competency that your organization has to master. So in this, many people talk about it, and if we have time, we will do some research about it. But this is we have so many things to do. But again, if you read the literature review, in particularly during the 21st century business strategy, or the 21st century competencies that students have to master, and this is what the students and the organizations need to master. This process, this inductive competency, deductive competency, and inductive deductive capability, and that can deliver the competitive advantage, which is competitive strategy production as a result of these input and processes. It's very, very important. Okay, this is very, very important. And if again, this is a recorded section. And if we, it's a one-way direction for me, but if we have the open discussion, of course, or in classes, you know, we can do so many things. And the way I positions myself in the aspirations could be different. The whole things could be more lively. Because this is only one way, okay, and time constraint. So if we, therefore, there are two very important process. One is from the data to the theory, we call processes of inductive learning, or we call inductive competency that you have to build up. And the other one is going up from the theory to the data on your left-hand side, which is called the processes of deductive learning. Again, the deductive competency. And inductive learning or inductive competencies will generate the competitive strategy and competitive advantage, and deductive learning, deductive competency, and deductive processes will generate the competitive advantage and the competitive strategy differently. And if you can integrate all these two together, you create a more holistic, integrative, competitive strategy that involve the whole processes for a common goal, which is to meet your competitive objective. Okay, whichever competitive strategy objective that you're aiming for. Then this is a very, very important process. So so this page is structures or re-layout you know, of the previous one in a simple term, which is theory and data. So we are talking about theory, data, iteration. So the research, business research, therefore, is nothing about nothing more than this page, nothing more than this iterative process. So we are talking about iterating between data and theory. Data means your data field, right? Your application. And if it's action research, you need to work on the action. You know, you have to take action so that you generate the data. But if it's surveying, you just collect the data. Qualitative, maybe your data's a little bit more complicated because you can observe it, you can listen to it, you can talk about it, you can interact with it, you can feel about it, you can think about it, and so there are all kinds. Or data. For engineering, the data, we have to use measurement, we have to measure the densities, we have to measure things, right? And so by measuring, for example, the stress equal to force divided by area. So if you are measuring the force and you're measuring that, given the area, measuring the force, so you will develop the stress. And so you can measure the stress. And when the stress, tensile stress or compressive stress go into until certain point, it break down. So you can generate a good understandings about the characteristics of the engineering material. Okay, and then if you are not you want to know why this material has this strength or not strength, or tensile strength or compressive strength, you can probably go microscopes or whatever to look into the the arrangements of all the molecules and things like that. So so the data from the theory and data iteration. Deduction, as I already told you, you have to go through understanding the theory, and that will forms the concepts of strategy. And so you have to go through the literature reviews, library, internet, databases, things like that, and then you generate, you use all this theory, and in view of the context of the applications that you are now working on, it could be agricultural, the situations. It could be you want to improve the hospital service. Excellence things, or maybe you're talking about the well-being tested in a destination, and so in that particular context, then you can use the deduction, which is you deduce or you develop or you extract or you kind of adapt all this theory for that particular usage that we call deduction. So you form a hypothesis or a part of the theory, and then you can test it and see whether the data after the analysis match with the theory. Okay, so if you start with the theory, go into the data and analyze it, and then you see whether whether it matches with the theory. That is the deduction. And otherwise, if you start from the observation, if you're mostly on qualitative or interviews or focus groups observations, or explicit observations or implicit observation, you're observing people, letting other people know they're observing, or you do not let people know you're observing, or maybe you observe on the data from the social media, and then you start to form some understanding. And that is called theory building. So you form some understanding, you start to build some theory. So very important requirements, especially when I look at the students' assignments or your articles, peer review, is that the data is more specific. So we are talking about specific details, specific application, and the theory we're talking about a general understanding. So your ability to have a general understanding and your ability to be specific, whether through your capabilities of operations or data collections or getting in touch with some destinations or sources. This is very important. So your specificity and your generalizability are interconnected. Okay, so this very, very important, and so for example, specific things could be your specific problem, could be about specific issue, it could be about specific context, it could be about specific application, and which require a specific sample. Okay, so your sampling coming from your specific population. Okay, so if you are trying to work on the aging societies, and your populations it should not be drawn from the children, right? It got to be from the aging group, right? Okay, and if you're talking about aging group with the social media capability, then that particular population has to demonstrate that particular competency before you can draw the sample. Otherwise, your sample is not valid, right? I mean, you have the wrong representation, and so you create a lot of error in your presentation, and so your validity as your ability, it's already your external validity, your validity of how your data representing what actually things that you want to understand is not matching, right? So this is so theory, so research and strategic management processes or competency management processes. So competency management development is all the same. If you want to develop a competency, you gotta have theory, data, iteration, because everything in the world is about business research. So business research in competency, business theory, data, iteration, business competitive strategy, business research, this is theory, data, iteration. So everything is about theory and data iteration. So whether you're studying about building a good understanding about human resources or human managed resources development, or brand management, or marketing, or business competencies, or whatever, it's all the same. So if you understand this, then you masters almost every field. Okay. And again, I want to draw you to the theory of the concept of the trilogy. That theory will form a very diversified concept or strategy, allow you to form multiplicities and diversified natures of understandings about how to create a competitive strategy differently. And because you have different concept, you will have different competency. Okay, and different conduct of strategy. Okay, and so this is the trilogies of research. or the trilogies of the strategy, or trilogies of hypothesis, all the same. Okay, so let's look into the this very important area, which is on this strategic management. Okay, so I will use strategic management. I will use strategic management process, which is the I have already demonstrated to you, which is we have a strategic management inside and the management processes intends to build the competency and develop the competitive strategy, which has the internal environment and the external environment. Okay, so and that and the iteration is the same like a business process, which is the theory, okay, of knowledge, which will have this potential, the future, potential future is it's there. You can use that for this particular application, okay, and still a lot of whole bunch of theories out there for competitive, futuristic, strategic possibility. We are just pulling some apart for formulating the the hypothesis strategy or strategy map or business model and execute and implement it, invest on it and generate the experiences and data, and then continue to reflect on it and analyze it, big data analytics or whatever, or enterprise resource planning system, and then to see and then to continue to accumulate the knowledge, and so that our companies can continue bigger and bigger and more competitive, have more competitive strength. So reaching for strategy, how to reach a desirable future? So we have, if you look into this business research process, particularly during with strategy or particularly during with hypothesis. So if I ask you in business research to talk about hypothesis, or if I ask you to generate a competitive strategy, if I ask you to generate a competitive competency, or and this is things that you will ask yourself the question. And whether it's in research or as a strategy. So let me give you a couple of ideas, a concept, or concept, right? If I gives you more concept, stimulate more concept, and according to trilogy of strategy, and the more concept I put in for you, all these are concept, and the more you will get a good understandings about the conduct, okay, and developing the strategy. So, for example, what kind of strategy? What does it for? What about is it potential future, desirability, the potential future? If you have that component, then your strategic loop or your hypothesis will therefore must include certain capability, direction, or competency, or hypothetical knowledge that allow you to deliver into that perspective. Okay, so that means you got to have potential future, you got to deliver that future desirability, the potential future, or the potential future. Is desirability means what? Means that your potential future, does it align with your vision? Does it align with your does it match and synergistic and aligned with your mission or core value? And or is it run totally differently? So we are not, we're talking about the organizational working, the action, the activities of the organizations, and the attitudes are not matching. And if they are not matching again, then we are talking about the competency is not the right thing for you. Right? So where to reach it? How are you going to reach it? By AI, artificial intelligence, by collaborating, by cooperations, by first one to design it, or first one into the market, or by the best practices, or which way? You got competitive advantages, or differentiation, by cost differentiations, or by cost leadership. So what? So these are and these are ways to reach out. Okay, and again, this inductive and deductive is also part of the way of reaching to that potential, right? You can look at this theory and data as to explore for new opportunity and to exploit the opportunity. Because if you do not have the knowledge, you cannot implement it, you cannot exploit it. And if you do not have the knowledge of opportunity, you have to find ways to explore it. It's so explorative and exploitative competency becomes your capability to make your company having an ambidextrous competitive characteristics and things like that. Okay, so again, it's all the same, and you can look at it from the business strategy perspective, or you can look at from the business research perspective. But this is business research class, so I hope that when you're doing a business research, please do not forget about your business role. You are not looking in business research and then there's nothing about business. It's and it seems like, and I teach a lot of students and guide a lot of students on their PhDs or master's classes or bachelor classes, and I found that every time when you ask people to do business research, it seems like their mindset is into research and forget about what is business. There's no business sense. So business research, it has to make business sense. What we mean by ways, okay? So ways is the strategy and it's the rules. So from the strategic perspective, when we're talking about the way or the hypothesis, we means the order generating rule. So the strategy or the hypothesis or the strategy mapping or the business model can be understood as they are just nothing but a rule, a set of rules. What for what? For creating orders. So if you collect the data and if you think this is the theory and this is the hypothesis, and if you collect the data and they are able to give you consistency, that means you are generating an orders, not chaosity. You can see the pattern of consistency in your results, and that order generating rules will give you what? Will give you, in the business sense, certain identity. And that is how we, through building the competencies, we develop the corporate identity. So the corporate identity means your characters, the characters of your organization, the way you do things, coming from the way we generate and we observe the way you go through the process. And so the way you follow the rules, and all the types of rule that you follow, or the types of rule that you want people to follow. Okay, it could be greens rules, it could be lean rules, it could be a competitive strategic rules, whatever. Okay, so these are the very important. I want to demonstrate all this issue. The details you can look at it, but I just want to capture your understandings and bring that research into strategic perspective and into a competitive strategic perspective, or into a way that allows you, that your organization to in the future, that you're a CEO, that allow you to design a system. Right, this is a system that allows you to build and develop the competency for your business, which is very simple: theory, data, iteration. So how do we know the way? How do we know the way? Well, I mean, if you look at this graph, how do you know the way? Well, this is process. So the inputs come from knowledge. So how do you know the way? Well, it comes from your inputs. The more input you have, the more way you have. So the knowledge is very important. So there is a knowledge-based view, or knowledge as the source of competitive advantage, or knowledge as the source of your concept, or that stimulates your strategy. So where you get your competitive strategy, well, it depends. It comes from your knowledge. Show me your knowledge, and I will tell you your competitive strategy. Okay, and another one come from where? Come from your data. Come from where? Your analysis, or come from where? The entire process. So your strategic management process is also the way. So and where is your data? Well, your big data. So data, big data. Wait, show me your data. Show me your application. And if you talk about, if you are a small if you are a company, and if you are, let's say, if you are the account manager, and if you don't go and talk to your account, you know, for example, if when you manage, let's say, if you are managing an account on hotels. And if you do not go to the hotel and talk to the managers, talk to the GM, and talk to the the maintenance staff of the hotels, how are you going to know about your clients? How are you going to know about the data? And if without knowing the data, do you know the way? You have no idea of the way. So where is your strategy? You fail to identify the source of your strategy. And therefore, you fail to understand where is your strategy, how your strategy looks like. So, no matter how complicated, people, we have so many classes, so many types of courses and things that you can, as a student, you can take courses and understand what is strategy and strategic management. The different textbooks talk about different things, but at the end of the day, fundamentally, this is all about theory, data, iteration. It is about induction, deduction. It is about combination of induction, deduction, and from there you can twist and turns, and plus the paradigmatic paradigm that I talked about it in the first page. You on a topic you can almost understand by yourself. Okay, so this the other situation. Just want to know what is this. Okay, so we are still reaching for strategy. So we are still looking at the same topic, and another issue is reaching for strategy. We have to we know from this process we are not isolated. We are in an environment. So the company relationship with the environment, okay, that determines your strategy. So if you want to know what strategy you would like, well, go and figure it out. What kind of strategy, what kind of relationship you want with your environment? You want a relationship to be luxurious strategy, a relationship, you want to have intimate relationship, you want to have isolated relationship, you want to have the detached relationship, different kind of relationship, and matching your competency with the environment's requirements and need. That is another relationship requirement. And so again, the question is, you ask question. So there is a book, I forgot about, written by MIT. When there is a very important strategy, competitive strategy book written, I think was by MIT professors, talk about well, it boils down to question. Just keep on asking question, which is research question. I mean, if you have questions, you will have open solution. You will create unlimited solution. If you focus on a boundary, a framework, for example, let me show you. Some of the difference between qualitative and quantitative research is about it's about the quantitative. Sometimes we start with a theoretical framework, and that theoretical framework it's a theoretical constraint. It's a cognitive constraint. It's a schemata that constrains your cognitive processes within that boundary. And in that sense, it has the advantages in efficiency, of course, because there is a cognitive constraint. So you are thinking within that constraint, so you will generate the outputs according to that cognitive constraint. So the process is efficient. So the speed of you generating the research outcome, or the speed of you generating the strategy, or the speed of you generating the hypothesis, or the speed of you generating a deductive idea is or creating a creative, innovative idea is faster. But again, if you, let's say, just forget about those theory and start from the scratch, we in qualitative, we in one of the research methods we call grounded theory, meaning the theory start from the ground, meaning it starts from the data. So there's no a priori, there's no beforehand. Let's forget about erase all the knowledge and start from scratch and go and observe and start observing the data. Let's get the data and start working on the data, grounding from the data, grounding the theory from the data. If that kind of relationship is what you want, it will opens up a lot of question and opens up an unlimited solution. And so this relationship with environment, whether it's closed system or open question, open system, or open innovation, it generates unlimited amount of strategy. Okay, so this no need to go into the details about picked up the course on strategic management. We can just chit-chatting, and on the research we can figure it out, the whole concepts on the how to manage and strategies and develop the strategy. Competitive strategy, which is competitive, is the qualifier, the quality of strategy, right? So you are not talking about strategy, we're talking about we want strategy, but we want a competitive. So you define it, right? In research, we define it. What do you tell me? What is competitive? Show me what it means by the indicators called competitive. Okay, and then from there, you will means you get a good, valid understanding on the words competitive, validity of the variable, which I have just talked about it, so that you can go through a reliable process of generating a valid conclusion. Okay, so for instance, competitive in what sense? Of corporate success. Okay, so you got to know corporate success, what? And so corporate success, okay, and would be a directions to guide you through things like that, and everything evolving around strategy. Okay, so everything evolved around hypothesis. So what does it mean by everything evolving around strategy? Well, from the business research perspective, when you're trying to study this hypothesis, okay, when you're trying to test this hypothesis, or when you formulate this hypothesis, so everything evolved around the hypothesis. So all the concepts, all the historical knowledge, and all the application, all the implication, all the extension, and all your analysis, or all your questioning, or all your understanding, or your interpretation, all evolved around that concept, that strategy. So in business terms, when everything evolved around the strategy, it means what? It means that your business model, your environment, your environment evolved around it. Your relationship with the environment evolved around it. Your execution evolved around it. In terms of what you execute, in terms of processes, in terms of business model, in terms of your structure, in terms of your policy, in terms of your human resource management and competency and things like that. Okay, so so what does it mean? It means focus, right? It means focus. So so when we peer review your article, be focused. we will get focused when you write your article to be focused. So when I ask you to talk on this paper was on about for example, this paper is about on the service dominant logics in combinations with the value theory of acceptance, so and focusing on the customer value perspective, and suddenly you are talking about employee, but you do not tell me how that employees is contributing to that perspective. That means that you're not evolving around that perspective. And I mean, everything you can say, everybody can say this, can say that. So what? And so what is the point? I mean, so in a pragmatic sense, so what? So what? I have no idea what you're talking about. I mean, I know you're talking about employees, and I know employees very important. But so what is going on? What are you talking about? And what is your position in human resource position, employee position in that particular service dominant logic? In what sense? Explain it. Okay, so that is called involvement. Okay, and this is a very what is strategy and what it is for. Okay, so this is the topic. So what is a good strategy? So we are not talking about you can ask yourself, what is a good hypothesis? What is a good strategy? And which direction this hypothesis is going? What is the purpose of this good strategy? Okay, so not some people come up with hypothesis that there is a hypothesis, but this hypothesis there's no purpose, and that means that we have no idea what is your objective of this paper. We have no idea what are you doing, what are you trying to achieve. So a strategy or hypothesis is serving a purpose, so you got to have a direction. So when you read the article, when I read your understanding, we know that you are going in that direction. Okay, you are moving into that direction. You're creating a leadership in that particular direction. So what is the purpose? So I'm trying to teach you business research from a strategic, competitive strategic perspective, that you have a purpose of being competitive. In what extent, to what degree, in what scope, okay, and through what? And so what is the purpose of a good strategy? For example, value for who? Okay, you creating and demonstrating competitive advantage. What else besides competitive advantage? Okay, you have an advantage. So and when you have an advantage, does that mean that you already have a competitive strategy? Does that mean that I have I have an advantage? I have advantage in the sense that this product is very easy to use, and so what else is missing in that competitive advantage perspective? Is that applications, or is that implicate a relationship, or is that pricings, or is that the processes, or is that your connectivities with the machines or whatever? I do not know. You tell me what else. Okay, and what about the questions like long-term, short-term? Okay, so is your purpose, is your strategy, is your competitive strategies, is your formulating of the hypothesis serving a long-term purpose or a short-term purpose? Okay, and these are all questions that you can that you need to understand. And if you understand, you will write on your research papers. You will guide your literature review. It will guide your the way you formulate your research objective, and the way you compose and analyze the background of your research problem, which means your introduction. So this is very important. And some of the researchers or some of the strategists come up with a hypothesis or strategy that is not bold, that is not bold enough, and it's not differentiated enough. Okay, and I say example 4P marketing 4P. We're gonna 4P is gonna create. It's gonna give us some performance. Is this bold? Is it clear? Does it deliver good impressions to the customer in such a way that it brings a very unique perceptions and impression, and what kind of image does it form? And do you think that if I put your 4P, if say your 4P is gonna give you performance, but if I put another competitor's product and services 4P in front of it, yours, and let's draw the comparative analysis from different customers. Do you think it's gonna have some competitive advantages? Do you think that it's gonna that the customers is gonna they will have the willingness to pay the price that you demand? So all these issues are very, very important issue. Are you bold enough in your hypothesis? Again, the more bold and the more strategic is your hypothesis, the more difficult it is. You have to have evidence to demonstrate the validity that it really works. So you have to, in business research terms, it means that you just prove it. Demonstrate show me the data that it supports your understanding, and or show me the perceptions of the people. Show me the qualitative data that people's really buy into your idea. And so the strategy can be incremental, can be very revolutionary, okay, transcendent, transformative, right? It's like some of the innovation is like a creative destruction, and it comes in. This when you introduce this idea, it creatively destroy the old ways of doing things. Okay, so people get used to driving car, and when the airplanes come in, it creatively destroy that particular habits. But otherwise it's complementing as a different channel. Okay, so it's your strategy, the nature of your strategy, which is your, the weight of your strategy, or we can call it in a triological sense, the conduct, your behavior, right, of your strategy. Is your behavioral strategy prospective, visionary, future oriented, shaping, or your strategy defensible in the sense of adapting it, assuming that you do it incrementally, or you are looking left and right, as I have already demonstrated to you, and SWOT analysis, you are more into analyzer, or you are just you cannot really move in that defensible directions, or you cannot move in the prospective direction. So probably you have to do some quick adjustment, reactors, right? So these are a couple of ways of the strategic typologies that you can describe the degree of bonus. So descriptive. To what extent is this industry incrementals in the sense, or revolutionary in another sense? Or is this organization, this nature of organizations more towards revolutionary prospectors than to incremental defendable? So this kind of descriptive understanding, we call descriptive research. So you're describing what is going on, to what nature of the industry. Your research questions could be to what nature of this of the strategy that different industries demonstrate. So descriptive research, right? And if you're able to demonstrate this boldness, the more bold it is, the more money it brings in. The more competitive advantage you have, then you're getting into an explanation. So we call explanatory research. Okay, so again, you know, all these things are just you can form different types of research. Okay, so again, research, you don't need to really be, you know, trying to understand, learning from a textbook in a step-by-step manner. Maybe not, right? Maybe you just go and work it out, you know, hands-on, you know, just walk you know, walk your path, and then from there you will, you know, do it. Just do it, and just really do a research, and then from one research you get a good understanding, and leads to research number 2, and lead to research number 3, and lead to research number 4, 5, 6, and then eventually you will start to understand what is going on. Okay, so the scopes and nature of research. Are we wanting to look at only the surface, or you want to go beyond? Okay, so you are challenging yourself, right? So you can, you know, that's again coming back to my question to you, is that a good competitive strategy, a good way to manage strategy, is therefore, you know, asking question, research question. And then if you when you ask a question and don't simply jumps into a conclusion, that is no research. I mean, if there is a conclusion, that is no research, right? Is there a research? You don't need to do research. It's already a solution. And most of the students say, well, I have a research question, I have a solution. Well, if that's so, don't need to do research. There's no question, there's no solution. How do we know that this is the right question? I don't know, even challenge you to a research question. A research questions could be wrong. Right? You're not looking at the right into the right way. So again, in kind of this, in terms of, you ask yourself, what kind of scopes and nature of that hypothesis that I really, or a strategy that I really want to explore. I mean, competitive strategy is a competency that you want to explore. Okay, so it could be that you want to focus on competitive advantage nature. Okay, so go ahead, read about it, talk about it. Advantage in what sense? Competitive in what sense? Competitive generate the advantage in what sense? So is competitive generating the advantage? Okay, is the advantage demonstrating that you have the competitive? And show the direction, show the competitive definition, show that you have a valid understanding of what is your term. Okay, a variable like this that is very abstract, and you need a definition, you need a clear theory. Maybe competitive advantage is not about just definition. It doesn't help you. You have to read a lot of, you have to go into a different theory. And different theory give you a different understanding, and from the different understanding, you figure it out the advantages that this theory is able to demonstrate. You figure it out competitive of that this theory is going to demonstrate, and then you create a competitive advantage from that particular theory. And you can generate an infinite amount of research topics, infinite amount of research opportunities, an infinite amount of research question. And then the rest is very difficult part, which is deal with the data, which is very difficult. If I have a lot of data, I will generate a lot of papers and research papers. You know, sometimes we don't have the data. If I have the data, I will get a lot of papers. Okay, and so benefiting the customers, benefiting the market, you know, the starting point of advantage, right? Benefiting, right? Okay, and advantages in the sense of well-being, long-term well-being. Oh, okay, to change, to create change, significant changes, not a small change, significant changes. It changes the way of you operating the activity, the way you're operating your business. It changes the way you think about it. It changes the way you collaborate with people, you know, through the application, right? the offline to online, online to offline strategy, right? There is a significant changes the way of you putting all your data into the cloud and utilizes the capability of the data analytical processes offered in the cloud systems, and maybe streamlining and reduce your cost of operation. Okay, investment. And then eventually you need to invest the money, right? The investment. It could be, I mean, you invest on your resources, invest on your people resources, invest on your monetary resources, you invest on your tangible resources, intangible resources, operant resources, transforming resources, transform resources, all kind of resources, investment. Okay, and the resources that is able to transforming things, right? We call competency, right? Transforming. So transforming resources is a competency, right? It's a competence. You are competent at certain thing. That is called transforming. I'm able to cut the hair, so I am transforming the hair of somebody, right? The hair is a transform resources. It's a resource I need to transform. I need to make it beautiful, and I'm transforming it. And so therefore I am operand on operand, and I am transforming on the transform. I am utilizing my intellectual, intangible creativity to tangibilize the resources on my hand. That is all about competency business development. So when we talk about all this business competency development, just have a holistic competitive strategy. We just have a holistic, integrated, cohesive systems or activity that fulfill certain goal and direction that for your company to win. That is called competitive strategy. What else you want to do? And that is called a valid research demonstration. That's a research process. That is inductive competency. That is deductive competency. What else you want to know? Even something so simple, we can get a very, very confused understanding. Why is that so? Because we think too complicated. Number two, we have no experience in the job. Have you been CEO before? Have you been operating the business before? How many business? What kind of skill of business you have been operating? Are you operating in a way that only a couple hundred people, a couple thousand people, or you're talking about few 100,000 people that you have managed? It's all different issue. It's all different competency, different requirements, different knowledge, different skill, and different attitude. Because when you deal with a lot of people and you deal with a couple of people, you think that you are good, but actually your attitude, when you're dealing with 200 plus people and 200 plus company, your ideas are totally different. Your attitudes are different. So your competency are different. The competitive strategies are different. The inductive processes are different. The details are different. So this very, very important is have a valid and reliable understandings on every variables. I have told you that in business research and in strategy is it's very important that we have a valid understanding and reliable understanding. If you do not have a reliable understanding, for example, if somebody else, if he or she is a CEO and I'm working for the CEO, said the CEO asked me, okay, and the CEO doesn't trust that I have a reliable process of, finding out something that he or she wants. Do you think he or she will trust me? Why does it need to trust me? Because if he or she trusts me and implements my strategy, the whole company will crash. That means your strategies cannot be supported in the business research sense. That means your strategy is not competitive enough. That means your competency has no competitive advantage. It's all interrelated. Why you build competency? Well, because you gotta create some competitive position. That's business relation, right? And so validity means a clear understanding. Reliability, are you sure you are working on the right way? Are you sure you genuinely, your attitude of doing things is honest? Did you manage to talk to one person or many people? So if I ask you to find out the employee engagement, and you talk to just a couple of people, and do you think that you can get a good pictures on employee engagement? Yeah, no, you can't do that. You have to really find and talk to many different types of employees and in different field. Maybe you come up with different theories that the sales engagement is different from the factory's engagement. The factory engagement should got to be more the DMAIC, define, measure, improve, actions and control. Six Sigma's approach in oriented, and the sales maybe just PDCA, maybe better and more applicable. I do not know. You have to find it out, right? So every variable, it could be business model. So if it's business model, you have to define it well. What exactly is the functions of business model? What is the characteristics of business model? It's a value creation. So how do you create the value? Innovations, why? All these are hypotheses. All these are strategy. Right? Different people, different organizations create the value differently, even they go through the same business model concept. So if they go through, then the business model has two important components. One of them is value creation, another one is value capture. Different people capture the value, which is the value streams, the revenue streams differently. Some people talk about services, charging fees, and somebody talk about service contractings. I'm not going to ask you to pay upfront. I'm just asking you to have a service contract with me, and then I will sell you my product and services. Right? It's a different way of capturing and different way of capturing different way of and nature of cash flow. So your cash flow management will be different. Your account receivable, your account payable, your amount of money is coming into the pictures, your liability issue, your asset issue, your net worth will increase or decrease differently. It's all depending on your competitive strategies and how it depends on how you utilize your competitive competency and of induction and deduction. There's nothing more than induction and deduction. Why? Because business is nothing but talking about how to use the theory or how you use your data, how you apply. And so this is very important. All these terms are they are not simple variable. They are abstract variable, like intelligence. Tell me what is intelligence means. I know my age. That is a variable. That is a concrete variable. I can count when I started getting born, and then from year on, I have 2 years old, 3 years old. I can count it. I can accumulate it. But if I'm talking about intelligence, I have no idea. This is very, very abstract. But things that are very abstract, I need to have a valid and reliable understanding. So, and that is through theory, that is through application. You understand the application, that is through you have a good definition and so on and so forth. And it's not as it's simple, but it's not if you have no experience in strategic sense or in business research sense or as a CEO, then probably you will a lot of time have a different misunderstanding. And that's why if you go and talk to the CEO, they will always ask you a lot of questions. They'll ask you, what do you mean by business model? Why it's not? Why is so confused? And that means that they know you do not understand. And that means that you do not have a valid platform. You do not have a reliable process. And so your understanding of and your cognitive processes of generating the hypothesis is not reliable. And whatever you talk is not trustable. And if I ask you to implement, you will waste a lot of investments and money. So I will promote other people. Why should I promote you? And so that is reasons why if you want to get a good salary, 100,000, 200,000, but make sure you understand the business competency in terms of business research process, induction, deduction, and in the context of competitive strategy and in the context of competency, and of course, business research. So we have already talked about in the first page, which it was a introduction, and which I kind of very slow, and I also was hesitating introducing this concept because this is a very philosophical term. But I have tried all my best to give you a good analogical understanding that allowed you to understand what is epistemological positioning and perspective. In a simple sense, it means that the way your relationship between what you want to understand and you. So if I am a CEO, if I'm a strategist, if I am a manager trying to develop the competencies, if I'm a strategist trying to develop competitive strategy, my relationship with that particular things, that particular market or particular product or particular situation that I want to develop in the sense of competitive strategy, that relationship in getting to a good understanding between each others, and so that I know him, I know me, and knowing me, knowing him. Chinese we call 知己知彼. So know me, know him, and that process is basically about epistemological processes, which is the way we generate the knowledge. Okay, and so you can generate knowledge through the quantitative ways, you can generate the knowledge through experimentation, you can generate the way through qualitative way, which will therefore links to methodology, and that is how the epistemological processes or understanding the perspective generate and lead and demand certain types of methodology. Okay, and this defines your business research. So in this, back to the strategic management framework or the business process, or we can call it this strategic management model, or we can call it a conceptual model for strategy development. And so if you look into that detail, you can see that there is this internal and external environment, and this is your organization, your company in relationship with this external environment. And if you and under that perspective, the relationship, the epistemological relationship your company has with that firm has two important perspectives. One of the perspective is called, which is linked to, again, the ontological reality. So your relationship is an exogenous relationship with that ontological natures of reality. And exogenous means the environment. The environment is we and the environment. The environment is not what we can control. It is what it is. Okay, so if we want to know, for example, we are a pharmaceutical company, and this is the market scenario, the market situations of the pharmaceutical drugs or medicines and all this medical issue, and if that environment is exogenous, it means that we are not, our mind, we do not need to, our mind is not influencing the way the nature is. The nature is, it is as it is. So it means that if we want to understand the nature of the market or the natures of the competitive issue, all we got to do is really whichever means, whichever data collections you could using the robots to collect the data, big data analysis, and it will give us a good understanding on of what is going on in that environment, because that environment is totally detached from the way of our mind understanding it. So, I do not need to involve. I'm a strategist. I am a company CEO. I can just send anyone to just collect the data, right? But so the fact is detached from the mind in the influence of the fact, and this is different from the endogenous, which the environment. A good understanding of the environment depends on we having communications with that environment. So because environment, the way we understand the environment is really depends on our mind. So if our mind is positive, the environment is positive. If our mind is negative, the environment is negative. Yes or no? Well, you already know about it. The world at this moment is very, very chaotic. Why is that so? Because your mind interprets that the world is chaos. But if you interpret the way the world is still pretty stable, then the world is stable. So the dynamicities or the stability, the dichotomous or a continuum between stability and dynamicity, or the dynamic state of that situation, or which we call strategic orientation, or we can the strategic condition, or the contextual condition that underpins or that undermines the way we execute the strategy, really depends on the way we interpret it. And that means we are in control of the environment, indirectly or directly. So that is called endogenous, something you're in control, something that there is some enactment possibilities up there. Okay, so the environment is endogenous. Conversation is going on, dialogue is going on, socially negotiated between you and the environment, and socially constructed reality. Okay, so these are the way we understand the strategy. Okay, epistemological perspective. And so, when we do a research, especially if you're a PhD student, we will need to understand your philosophical position. So you gotta tell me your epistemological position, because I do not know why you're doing this way or why you're doing that way. Why you collect data in this way? Why you collect data in that way? You gotta tell me what's going on, because different philosophy justify different way. So endogenous typical processes, because you in the environment and the strategist, the CEO, competitive, the one that creates the competitive strategy. If you're exogenous, maybe you're talking about discovering the strategy because it's already up there. The strategies are already up there. Okay, so just like Michael Porter's forces, right? 5 forces. So the strategy is up there, and so you just try to discover it. Okay, why? Well, you look at the industry and figure it out, the industry structure. There are competitive forces from the supply side. There are competitive forces coming from the customer side. There are threats coming from the new entry side. There are threats coming from the substitution side. There are internal rivalry, competitive competition, and then from there you try to identify where is the what is the total structure, what is going on, is it profitable structures, or where should you position yourself. So and the best positioning determines by the forces that's already happening, and so you're discovering that your strategies got to be this way or got to be that way, and that exogenous. But if you are looking into endogenous competitive strategy, which is coming from a resource-based views or competency-based view, and then we are talking about that we need to engage a communication, and that communications is more qualitative in the sense. That is the reasons why we call grounded theory, that your theory grounded from the data. And so how do you do that? How do you generate a theory from the data? Very simple. Well, you have the data, you just have conversations going, ongoing communications and conversations with the environment, with the external environment. How do you generate that conversation? From the artificial intelligence, you can use the Internet of Things, IoT. You can use the big data. You can use data analytics and to support your reflection. And you can use sensors to pick up all those data, or you can talk, man-to-man talk, right? And from there, you perceive the data, and then you generate you go through the reflection process, which is interpreting the data, understanding the data. From there, you arrive at a whole bunch of conclusion. It's called theory, and that is for future. That is where your future is. That is where your sources of innovation is. So innovations come from where? Innovations, which is called strategy, come from where? It comes from your knowledge. It comes from where? It comes from your actions on your data. It comes from where? It comes from your data. It comes from where? It comes from your implementation. It comes from where? It comes from your interaction with the external environment. It comes from where? It comes from your interaction with their internal environment, which is establishes your culture. So you can see that this structure, this model, we can talk on so many different topics. That's why when I peer review papers, or when I examining the PhD works thesis of as external examiners or as an advisor, I do not need to we can handle as many all kind of theories. I mean, all kind of thesis. Why is that so? Because the business research process is as parsimonious, simple as it is. Well, it's complicated, but it's simple. It's not complex. Okay, so you build this ontological nature is more interpretivistic, interpretivism in nature, that the reality is interpreted. So in the sense that the reality is a product of our consciousness and the mind. So again, this is a huge topic, a huge discipline, and sometimes we can talk about it in the spiritual competency. So there is a competency called spiritual competency, which is getting more and more importance in organization. And we are now moving into many organizations, and many research are moving into that directions, including the not only the research, but also if you want to be a good doctors, the medical doctors for example, I think in the university that I was, University of Wisconsin's medical schools, and we required all the practitioner doctors to be to masters a competency called mindfulness, sati, mindfulness competency. Is that a competency? Yes, it's a competency. Maybe I should give you a business a project assignments on show me mindfulness competency for use in organization and creating competitive strategy. I have a lot of problem for you for the student, but sometimes too many, and every time I think about it, I never write it down and I forget. And I have some PhD students I want to ask them to do, and sometimes I also forget, and sometimes I ask them to do, and they also not easy to do. Yeah. Anyway, mindfulness is a very important issue. Okay, and again, why can I give it to you? Because it's workable. It's for sure it will deliver result, and there is no solution at this moment. If there is a solution, I wouldn't ask you. This is not research. This is not competitive strategy. If something is very easy, there's no competitive advantage. That means that I already can read from any way. So why should I ask you? Why should I ask you to do? Well, I ask you to do because I hope that you can find some workable solution that delivers some competitive uniqueness. And that means that you gotta master that competency. When you feel that this will deliver some competitive uniqueness or advantages or positions to help you fulfill your company objective, that means that is the competitive strategy, and that means that that kind of things that you got to work on, and that is called competency. So you develop business competency on that particular situation that delivers competitive capability for you, and find it out. That is business research. So 3 in 1. So anyway, any kind of project, any kind of research disciplines or knowledge disciplines, we can always, synergize and talk in one section. Okay. And so this ontological nature, it's on this perspective on the interpretivism is reality is a product or a consciousness of mind. So first of all, you have to develop consciousness. It's a huge disciplinary knowledge on consciousness and mind. This is a huge social psychological issue. And it's and people has a private in management science. Well, you got to figure it out. This is what research is. Means. It means that you have to find it. I'm not going to help you. I'm not going to help you to find. Otherwise, I would do my own research. Okay. So another ontological nature is called, which is on the pretty opposite sides of the interpretism. We call it positivism, or we call it objectivism. Okay, or we call realism. Something is real, real out there. It's not my making things happen. I mean, if we talk about COVID-19, COVID-19 is not my made. It is where it is. That's if you think that this is my mate, then you have to use your mind to talk to the COVID, to find out the solution for resolving the COVID. Maybe yes. If you think this is the direction, then you have to form a stable mind to talk to the COVID, and maybe that is the mind stability that can resolve the COVID situation. But at this moment, objectivism is probably a better solution. So, otherwise, by the time, because mind has little knowledge, we human beings are have more knowledge on the realisms and positivism, objectivism, because our history has been developed a science based in that direction. So we tend to be on that direction. The knowledge in the relativism, subjectivism, or interpretivism is very, very little. Okay, people who are in interpretivism maybe can enlighten, and so how many people can get enlightened? And that is a very, very little. Okay, and so people tend to say that would say they know a lot of interpretivism. That is yes to some degree, but no to other degree. So, okay, so this, we already talked about it, that it links to the methods. And so integrating the ontological reality and the way we deal with the reality, epistemological sense, it also relates to methodology, whether you want to use experimentations or observations or whatever, and that integrating all this ontological issue, epistemological issue, methodological issue, we call research paradigms. Okay, so the realisms on the one hand, interpretivisms on the other hand, just give you a summary on a table form, so that this is a summary. We have already talked about many different cases. We have already talked about how this so important in justifying your research direction. the way you approach your research and things like that. So, for example, in realism, the environment-wise, the nature of the environment exists separately from the organization's exogenous. In environments-wise, on the interpretism, activisms is endogenous, exists in the minds of the managers. Okay, so your minds and my minds will create different environments. So that's why we have competitive strategy. That's why we have competitive differences. That's why our strategies are different. So even the same environment, we are selling the same coffee beans, but we have different understanding of the environment. Some people talk about environment that this is organic. This environment has got to be focusing on the taste, got to be focusing on the nutrition, and another things. Another persons will talk about just mass production. So we are talking about different types of situation and therefore create different types of strategy, right? One is more niche market or more differentiation oriented, and another one is more cost leadership oriented. And so this is how contact of strategies are determined by the different concepts of whether it's coming from realisms or coming from interpretivism. Even under the same condition, some environmental context, which is coffee. So a trilogy of research of strategy or hypothesis creates unlimited possibilities. Okay, so innovation is unlimited. So where is innovation? Well, it's unlimited. We can innovate on your idea. You can innovate on your structure. You can innovate on the way you manage it, administer things. You can innovate on your engineering. You can innovate on your entrepreneurial approach to the integrations of administration, of the administrative position, the integrations of administrative with engineering position and with the entrepreneurial positions. That three is a very, very powerful strategic typological management processes. Mode of understanding, as I already just explained, you discover your strategy or you construct and generate your strategy from your experiences. And from on the one hand, you adapt it. On the other hand, you can shape it because your mind creates the environment. So hero creates the environment. So you can shape the environment from where and act from your action. Take action on your environment. Okay, so this is typical similarity of our research understanding. So in this case, we are talking about strategy. So how do we have a valid strategy? So how do we have a valid strategy? So you have to make sure that, for example, you can, if you look into these pages, make sure that you understand the entire processes. Make sure that you have your good understandings on your philosophy, paradigmatic philosophy, because different paradigmatic philosophy, ontology will allow you to have different epistemological position. And if you work on different, if you do not understand your ontological reality and positioning, and then you apply wrongly on your methods, and then it is not valid since the very beginning. Not forget about the validity, the definition of every term. The starting point is already wrong. So if you want to have a validity, therefore you have to have a good understanding of your paradigmatic understanding. That will determine the types of approaches that you can work on. For example, in interpretivism, we assume that the reality is mind-made, and therefore the validity of your strategy coming from that particular ontological situation is that there is a very minimum a priori theory that you should apply. You should not straight away go and use the Michael Porter's 5 forces, because that will constrain your thinking in that Michael Porter forces. And so your strategies that come out will look like Michael Porter's forces. That is invalid. Well, valid, but not so valid, right? And because of this qualitative interpretivisms that you interpret So the validity comes from you using many different methods to help you see from different angles. So I can use the observations, I can use the survey, I can use the in-depth interviews, I can use the focus group, I can use the observations, I can use the artificial intelligence, big data, I can use all integrated all the methods that will help me generate a valid understanding different angles of data, and that will lead us to a valid understanding, because data is a part of the role in a valid knowledge. Because knowledge come from where? Come from your process of reflection. Come from where? Come from your data. Come from where? Come from the things before the data. How you get the data. So a validity is the entire process issue. It's a validity of the result, but it comes from every part of the process. So if you want to have a valid research, well, you gotta demonstrate validities in all these simple processes. Okay, so I say if we are within a case, so if you zoom into a case, right? For example, if I want to study these agricultural cases in Chiang Rai and see how they behave in such a way, whether it is competitive or not competitive in that sense, so I have to go and observe through multi-method approaches or minimum a priori theories, or using many different types of methods and triangulations with this method, with that methods, and then and then from there I want to look into one cases and see that from one community cases or from one factory, is there any do any people share similar things or converging things or different things or contradictory things or whatever. And so I need to see some consistencies of people, supporting certain ideologies or certain practices and certain contradictions that we may miss that, and that are very, very important, because in the interpretivism and in the research, sometimes everybody says something, common things, consistent thing. It doesn't mean it means that there is reasons why we are producing weaknesses in our production, and everybody seems to follow in that direction. And then if we do not understand all this validity issue, we will think, oh, everybody got to move in this direction. In fact, there are a couple of people telling you the contradictory situation, and that particular insight, if you take implementation, which again, not yet much evidence, or a little bit of evidence, because if it is something contradictory, that means there's not much evidence, but they are very important. That may determine a new theory. So this is called theory building. Okay, if we can identify things already there, there's not much construction. It's only a discover, right? So it's not only a discovery, we got to create something that really makes sense, that really make us competitive, unique differentiation. So we have to look into the, so if you want to create the validities, we have to look into different theories. So for example, theoretical aspect. If we for example, if we study this agriculture, can we explain from this theoretical angle? Can we explain from another theoretical angle? Can we explain from the Michael Porter angle? Can we explain from the resource-based view angle? Can we explain from the best practice angle? Can we explain from the competence-based angle? So if every theoretical angles conclude the same thing, that is the best. That means you have a theoretical triangulation. The triangulations of theory is very strong. That means you different no matter which angle you're looking at, it's delivering the same conclusion. Theoretical conclusion, explanation is very, very good. That means your explanatory power is very strong. And you need different methods and different observations to get you a rich perspective so that you can generate a good theory and a good understanding of that phenomena. And this is what interpretivism is for. You cannot interpret by only your opinions. You cannot interpret by only one or two people. You got to interpret by a lot of people, observers, a lot of people observing it and will tell you different story. Okay, so this very reliability, that is a reliability issue. Again, it's the same thing. The reliable process. Are you sure that you go through the process rigorously? Did you understand the meaning of every process? Did you do it in commitment? And so and did you set up the best practices in each of the places? Did you collect data in each of the places? Did you analyze each of the places? So these are very, very important issue, reliability issue. You know, when you are producing a product that is either reliable or not reliable, it's very simple. You go to your production processes. And if you do not have a match best practice control, you don't have a control criteria, you don't have a standard criteria, you can control it. And that means that you can generate a product that is working, valid, but it's not reliable. Maybe work today, tomorrow it's failing. Right, so this are very, very, so it determines the level of confidence. Okay, the level of confidence. So you got to really, and sometimes this level of confidence is that you do not focus on only one case. You have to look into more cases. You have to generate, you have to that is called sampling. So your sample got to be, for example, if you're trying to understand whether these practices from this company is working or not, but I mean, that really make a performance in the industry, you cannot really conclude from one company. You have to conclude from many different companies. Okay, so that's called cross-case convergence, cross-case convergence or cross-case divergence, to see that there is a similar trend or theoretical trend, or there are certain unique cases of companies, different sizes, different leadership, or different culture that diverge out, that allows you to see the differences. Okay, so this divergence convergence issue is coming from where? It coming from more data. If you have more samples, if you have a little bit sample, how are you going to see everything is convergence? You probably cannot even know any difference, because you're talking about the same species. You're talking about the same company. So how you know that your theories or your ideas, any difference, if the things are different, or if organizational structures are different, you gotta study different organizational structure. And so that is what divergence means, and this is what the convergence imply, and this is what we mean by sample size. We don't ask for a huge sample size like 300. We ask for a couple, maybe 7, 8, 9, 10, but sufficient for you to achieve a good, strong, robust a trend, divergence or convergence trend. Or maybe best, if you're really serious about that, then maybe you can collect the data in a qualitative sense, qualitative cases, until that your analysis is stabilized. Okay. Right, so there is not much difference between the samples. Right, the conclusion from the sample start to saturate, start to stabilize. So the conclusion starts to get the shape. Okay, we call saturation, or we call theoretical saturation. Okay, you saturate at the theoretical levels. That means you know that there is certain convergence. Okay, and there's certain divergence. Maybe you can work it up later on, but mostly there are convergence in the sense. So the next research validities, I'm just repeating in the strategic management and business research sense, though I have already explained it since the first page. Is the next one is generalizability. So the data are very specific cases, but for a research perspective, from a research perspective, you got to be able to do implication and make conclusions that lead you to generalizability. Okay, either theoretical generalizability or a theory can apply to the similar representations of population. We call representative or populations generalizability. So we have on the one hand representative or population generalizability, on the other hand, which is survey, and on a quantitative survey. On the other hand, we have a qualitative, interpretative, theoretical saturation or theoretical generalization. Okay, so generalizations of our finding is very, very important. And from the strategic perspective, it means that you can market your product to different geographical, to different clusters area. And it also explains that your theory has this explanatory power, and that it can explain in different environment and different application. So your competency is more broad-based rather than narrow-based. So you have capability to deal with uncertainty. That is more than a task-based competency that I can only do certain tasks. I'm talking about your competency has already growing and growing until a point that it becomes the capability that your company can deal with many different types of product and services and markets. And if you still want to talk about competency, maybe those are your core competency that allows you to generate a lot of profit from different perspective and different angles. So either you call it a capability in a base uncertainty challenger sense, or you can call it the core competency in a business focus sense. Okay, so these are the situation, and this would be the last page that I will discuss, but we will continue later in other section when we talk about variables. But since I already touched on this point, I will roughly go through about it. So when we talk about strategy, it is a hypothesis. And if the hypothesis or the strategy has a very strong theoretical understanding and theoretical concept that can allow you to explain the situation, the competitive situations very well, that means that we are reaching up to a theoretical realm. So a theory is mathematically is just nothing but a set of the independent variables, or a set of the strategies, strategy in the supply side, the strategies on the customer value proposition, the strategies on the market segmentation or positioning, and integrating them as a whole can allow you to explain the success, or explain the competitive advantage, or explain the customer acceptance, or explain the customer acceptance cognitively, explain the customer acceptance behaviorally, explain the customer acceptance emotionally, explain the customer acceptance normatively in a very accurate, strong sense. And that is called theory. Okay, so a theory in a mathematical structure is just a function of x1, x2, blah 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 until xn, which is those are the key success factors. You can talk about it, or those are the strategic action that you need to invest on, or those are the competency that you need to master, or those are the competitive strategic direction or competitive strategy you need to masters. And integration, the function itself, that is the core of the strategy that will integrate everything cohesively. So a function, the function determines the issue, not the x1, x2 competitive strategy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it no need to discuss and debate. Many, you can go to the YouTube and you go to the Google and you go to the textbook, and it's very confusing. And if I go to the internet or the database of literature review, you will be finding very confusing. Everybody confused about what is strategy, what is a good strategy, and then no ending. Well, mathematically, it has an end, which is we can define it as a function. Okay, and different function determine different characteristic, but a function integrate all the variables. Okay, all the speed of the variables, all the domains of the variable, and the functions determine the characteristics of all the integrative components or activities and action on that competitive arenas, the domains of your competition, right? The domains of your competition, and which involves the speed, how fast you move around in that competitive environment. Okay, so you mathematically it is a function, and that function is basically it's called a theory. So theory of strategy, things like that, which determines the concept. And so mathematically, it is a interrelated construct or concept, which is x1, x2 until xn, comes along with the definition, comes along with all the hypotheses of position that represent a systematic view of that particular competitive situation, okay, that allows you to predict the outcome, meaning you will win if you invest money on that function. So if you invest money on that function, you will generate returns on investment. Okay, right? And so on the research perspective, you have to understand one thing. A theory, you want to understand this theory, there are two things. One is the theoretical domain. The other one is the empirical domain. So meaning this is the data, this is the theory. The theory itself is we want to understand, we want to build a theory, or we want to develop a theory, or we want to test a theory. To test that theory, we have two components, right? One of them is the theoretical component, the theoretical domain that reflect the same, to understand the same theory. The other one is the empirical, the data, the concrete experience domain that explain the theory. Okay, so theoretically, we have a conceptual theory, conceptual understanding. Y is a function of X, big X. And the other one is the Y, small y, and small x. So you have to find out your Y, you have to find out your X. That means you have to measure your X, you have to measure your Y. So that is the data. So if you say you want to deliver a Y, a competitive advantage, you want to deliver, you want to come from your X1 differentiations or cost capability, whatever, X1, X2, X3, you gotta be able to measure X, 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 X. You gotta measure Y, 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 Y. And then all through this measurement, you do a correlation analysis or regressions analysis or statistical analysis or computer neural network analysis or artificial intelligence analysis. You should be able to tell that this Y is related to X. That means you support the theoretical function, which is Y is a function of Xi. So Xi and Y are concept. You have to operationalize it. You have to provide a good definition. Okay, because this concept we call abstract concept. These are abstract concept. Abstract Y, big Y, abstract big X. They are called latent construct. And this latent construct, we need to have a definition and bring that definitional term in the theoretical context, based on the theoretical context and based on the application, and translate into data, operational terms. And this we need to give an operational definition to the latent construct, okay, that will turn the theoretical latent construct into observable indicators. So we can observe them. We can observe how the organizations behave in X sense. We can observe the organizations arrive at the Y sense. And then based on the X and Y that we observe, we analyze it, and then we confirm and support the validity of the theoretical function, which is called the strategy, which is called the theory. that is supported, okay? It's not falsified, okay? So theory attempts to explain the observed phenomena by systematically setting up the relationship between y and x, okay? And through operational definition of y, operational definition of x, we observe this small y and we observe this small x, and we confirm and support the theoretical understanding of the big Y is a function of the big X. That is called specific domain to generalizable domain. Okay, specific X, Y, small x, small y to a generalizable big Y, big S. Okay, so thank you very much for the your attention. And so again, this session, I intend to fit into three objectives. One objective is for teaching you the business strategy, and the second is bring in the competencies of induction and deduction, so to guide you develop a very important business competency development in this particular induction deductions processes, which involves many sophisticated competencies that you need to build. Ontological sense, epistemological sense, methodological sense, validity sense, reliability sense, and knowledge sense, data sense, operationalized theory sense, and so on and so forth, and turn them into competitive strategy with a goal, cohesive, functional goal. Okay, and so this three birds in one go, and so I hope that please pay attention, and I hope that it gives you a lot of the benefits and allows you to understand business research is no different from strategic management. It's no different from it's actually four birds. Another one is strategic management, not the competitive strategy, and allow you to generate competitive strategy in a very relaxed sense. No need to serious about it. Okay, just know that the world is as it is or mind-made, and then you can create your strategy. Right, just walk the talk, talk the walk. Right, and it's hands-on experiences. Right. And so very easy, right? So why you should so worried? I see so many students so worried, and oh, what's going on, and what should I do, and why should you worry? The things are very simple. The reasons why you're worrying is because you have no experience in the industry. Okay, and even though you have experiences, the different level of experience, your career, were you a CEO, or were you the directors, or you the managers, or they're all different. Okay, so again, so thank you very much for your attentions, and wish you all the best, and so I hope that you can from here that you can solve many strategic and competency and business research problem. Okay, thank you.